Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate between the Steelers and the Vikings. And can we please, for once, get a good game on a Showdown slate? Please. But yeah, guys, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. One thing I want to mention is I'm going to be leaving the country for the next few days, going on vacation with my family, so I won't be back until Tuesday, so that's when you'll see me back for NBA and NFL videos. If you're unable to watch the videos, I also upload an Apple podcast. I'll have a link down below. It's called the DK DFS Show. And if you're interested in signing up for premium content, offer on patreon.com. Still will be covering that when I am in Mexico, so don't worry about that. NBA, NFL content for Patreon. I cover the main and the Showdown slates. And the sponsor of today's video is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a player prop site where you pick 2 to 5 players and can win up to 10x your money. You can mix and match sports. For NFL, there's a few different ways you can play. The first way is taking over/under in fantasy points. The second way is taking over/under in like passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards. You can see a ton of different different ways you can play. Interceptions, you can take over/under in Big Ben, like 0.5 interceptions if you want. You can mix and match sports if you want to pair a couple NFL with NBA. They have college sports, boxing, tennis, soccer, esports, basically everything you can think of. So if you guys want to try out Prize Picks, make sure to sign up and use my code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word. You get 100% match up to $100. Okay, so let's get into the slate. I don't even want to show you my lineup from Monday's slate because I went a little bit contrarian and stacked the passing games, and I'm sure you saw how that went. Mac Jones threw 3 times. How did the Bills... The Patriots run like 30 straight times. How do you not just stack the box? Like, whatever. Let's talk about this slate. So it's a 43.5 over under, and the Vikings are 3-point favorites. So on the Pittsburgh side, let's first take a look at snap counts here for the Steelers last week. So Najee Harris, no surprise, played 97% of snaps. Benny Snell played a couple of snaps. A wide receiver, so Deontay Johnson played 95% of the snaps. McLeod actually outsnapped Claypool a little bit, 67% to 63%. And then James Washington was the number 4 wide receiver, only playing 37% of the snaps. And at tight end, you have Pat Freiermuth played 73% of the snaps, with Zach Gentry playing 50%. Again, Eric Ebron is out for a while. All right, so we'll start with Deontay Johnson, who I think is just a super safe play. He's probably going to get you 12 to 14 targets. He's a guy that does have a lot of upside. We saw it last game, so very safe play with upside. Not much I can say wrong about Deontay Johnson, and he's not like super expensive either. I think you have Najee Harris, who might be a little bit safer just because of the guaranteed touches, but he's like not going to leave the field. He's very involved in the passing game too. 6, 5, and 5 targets the last 3 games. So Najee, Deontay, both look like great options here. Najee probably a little bit safer. Both have similar upside. Big Ben, we kind of know what he is at this point. He's a washed-up quarterback that doesn't have a ton of upside, but probably going to get you like mid-teens fantasy points. So at only 9K, like it's a relatively safe play, but not something like, oh my God, I'm so excited to roster Big Ben on the Showdown slate. No. Chase Claypool at 7-4. Again, the snaps went down for him a little bit. He's been dealing with a little bit of a toe injury, but I kind of like the discount on him. He still has upside. Again, Deontay Johnson's safer, but you're also saving like $3,000 on Claypool, so kind of like him in the mid-range. And then I think Pat Freiermuth is a pretty safe play too. No Eric Ebron. He's had some pretty big weeks here the last month or so. A guy that can look to in the red zone. He's caught 4 touchdowns now in the last 5 games. So I like some Pat Freiermuth. Again, expect him to play majority of the game. Played 75% of the snaps last game. Scrolling down a little bit, so Washington at 5K, nothing more than a contrarian option because the price is up on him a bit, plus the snaps went down. He was the number 4 wide receiver, so that's not great. Not saying he can't get there. He can definitely catch a long touchdown. He still has big play upside, but right now it's nothing more than a contrarian play. The way to win all these showdown slates is just play every defense, every kicker, and all the tight ends, and you're going to win $1 million, guys. Yeah, Steelers D at 4-2. I don't love it. The kicker is always in play for the showdown slate. Again, Ray McLeod mentioned he actually played the second most amount of snaps. Only had 4 targets, but That week 10 game against Detroit, he had 9 catches for 12 targets. So, like, he's a decent player, a guy that does, is a speedster, and he's only 3.2K. So I think he's a fair value. And I mentioned Zach Gentry. He played half the game. He'll be the backup tight end. 2 targets last couple weeks. Doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's also really cheap and doesn't need much to pay off the salary. So he's viable for salary relief. Benny Snell at 1K did see 2 carries, but those are on the only 2 snaps he played. And then that's basically it for the Steelers. So there's not much else that I even would consider. So let's move on to Minnesota. So on the Minnesota side, snap counts last game, we have to keep an eye on Dalvin Cook, who practiced in limited fashion today. I would guess he doesn't play because they said they expected him to be out until week 15. But obviously monitor that. If Dalvin Cook is out, expect a lot of Madison. He played 86% of the snaps last game. But wide receivers, so we have Thielen doubtful. Osborne played 92%. Justin Jefferson played 91%. D.D. Westbrook was the number 3 wide receiver. He played 42% of the snaps. And then at tight end, Tyler Conklin played 95% of the snaps. Stocker, Herndon got a little bit of work. They are dart throws on this Showdown slate. All right, so Justin Jefferson, kind of the same thing I said about Deontay Johnson. He's going to get probably 10 to 14 targets. A guy that has a ton of upside, probably a little bit more upside, I'll say, than Deontay Johnson, just because Kirk Cousins is a little bit better quarterback at this point of his career. He's gone for 40 and 38 fantasy points in now 2 of his last 3 games. So the upside is massive on Justin Jefferson. Again, monitor the status of Dalvin Cook. He did practice in limited fashion. I don't think he plays, but if he does play and is not limited, I'm obviously going to prefer him to Madison. But if Cook is out, then Madison makes for a really safe play. He was basically just going to be a bell cow. 22 carries and 3 catches and 3 targets last week. And then Kirk Cousins, I think, is the safer quarterback. I think he has more upside. So I do prefer Kirk Cousins to Big Ben. He also is a little bit more expensive, though. Scrolling down the list, I mentioned Thielen not expected to play, so that's going to open up a lot more playing time for a couple other receivers who we'll get to. Tyler Conklin at 9.2. So when Thielen went down, he had 7 catches and 9 targets, so expect him to get a little bit more involved here. Him and FREIERMUTH look pretty similar. They got a small lean to Pat FREIERMUTH over Conklin, but both tight ends at their respective prices, I think, are good options. KJ Osborne, I do like on the cheaper end, and the cheaper end of the mid-range, 5.6. He had 7 targets last week. Again, he played almost the entire game. And the Vikings just, they're not going to play a lot of wide receivers. They play like 3 wide receivers the whole game. So I think KJ Osborne makes her a very, very safe play. The Vikings defense, I think I would rather go to the Vikings D than the Steelers D. They're playing at home, and you have Big Ben as the quarterback. So I do think the Vikings D is at least playable. Mention the kickers, they're always viable. And then D.D. Westbrook, I think, is in play as a punt option. He had only 2 targets last week, but expect him to work as a number 3 wide receiver. And again, at this price point, he doesn't need much to pay off that salary. I'm probably going to botch his name, but Kini Nwangu? Yeah, definitely was not correct. But he was the backup running back last week when Dalvin Cook is out. So, sure, you can play him if you want to, but that's not something I feel confident in. CJ Ham, the fullback, can catch a pass. He's caught 1 pass now in each of the last 2 weeks. He had 3 catches and 3 targets in week 10. So a fullback on the main slate, sure, why not? I mentioned those 2 other backup tight ends, Herndon and Stocker. They'll play a couple of snaps. So knowing the way how Showdown slates have gone, they're probably both going to score a touchdown. And that's really it for Minnesota. Not much else I'm going to mention. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for the video as well. Again, if you have been enjoying the content, make sure to hit that like button. Let's try to aim for 100 likes, guys. Would really appreciate that. Every single like does help me out. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. But thanks again, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video.